Hi, in this video we'll discuss a small optimization in the game of Azul. I haven't seen anyone discuss this, so I'm not sure if it's known or not. So here it is. One might think that this position is the best you can have when you can only place 3 tiles in the first 3 rows, right? And of course this is an excellent position to be in and most likely the best on average. However, this is not the highest possible scoring position. I would argue that this position can give a higher payout. To see it, we can reduce the example for a simple 2x2 situation. So let's say you can just place 2 tiles. And of course, one would think that, for example, this one is the best, followed by, so that's the round 1, and round 2 you would get this. Okay, so if you do this in that order, you'll get 3 points in round 1 plus 2 plus 4, so that would net 9 points. Okay, now if you do this in round 1, it's actually better. In the first round you will only score 2 points. However, if you manage to fill the gaps afterwards, you will score 10 points, an extra 10% just by optimizing the order in which you fill the gaps. You can verify the arithmetics. So it's 2 for the first round, and then 4 plus 4, that's 10. And if you want to understand why this happens, it has to do with the weird way we count points in Azul. And the fact that when you fill a gap like this, you have a kind of double activation of this tile. I mean, a natural way of counting would be 1, 2, 3, but in the game it's 2 plus 2. So I tried to see if this mechanism could be generalized and if we could find a weird optimal way of filling the gaps for an entire game. And I've not been able to find something very exciting. The best I can do is 1 bonus point more than what seems the optimal simple pathing, which is doing this and then this and this and this and this, or something like that. But I still believe there are some decent strategic implications. So okay, let's look at this. These are some simulations I did. There are no actual math behind it. I have no demonstration, so maybe I'm missing something. But if we take a simulation with 1 line, then it's pretty obvious. The numbers here mean first round, second round, third round, fourth round. Okay, and this is 1 line. So in this example, I paved the first row in a way where there's never a gap. Okay, so the first tile came here, then the second here, third, fourth, fifth. And if you do this in this way, you'll net 15 points. If you do it in a terrible way, like the first tile is here, then the second here, then the third here, and fourth here, so you're maximizing the amount of holes or gaps, you will score only 11 points. And if you do 1, 2, then 3 in the middle, then 4, and then 5, it's also 11 points. So this is a very trivial example that showcases that gaps are terrible in the game of Azul. Okay, this is pretty obvious. So we should strive to never have gaps. But what happens if we add a line? Okay, so now the gaps can happen not only left, right, but also top, bottom. Okay, this is what is commonly thought to be the optimal way of filling it. So 1, 1, then 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5. Okay, and if you do this, you'll have 39 points. Of course, you could have the 1, 1 in the middle and then just pave it so that there are never any gaps in it, but you will have the same result. But this is not optimal. There's a different way of doing it, which is a generalization of what we showed in the beginning of the video. For example, you could do a diagonal setup. So 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and then 5, 5. And that will net you 1 extra point, which is not a lot, but it's interesting to notice that this is an okay setup, okay? And if you do this, this also works. We only have the cross in the beginning, so 1, 1, and then 2, 2, and then fill it normally. You will also get 1 extra point compared to this, okay? So what if we get to 3 lines? And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do a lot more than 1 extra point. And by doing it, we understand why. So this is the normal way of doing it. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, and it will net you 68 points, which, by the way, is the number found by the author. I think his name is Sam in the channel Wonders, and I think it's the highest viewed strategic guide for Azul. And he rightfully says that if you fill it in an orderly fashion, you will have 68 points. However, there is a different way of filling it to gain one extra point. But there's also traps. So if you generalize my diagonal filling here, so 1, 1, 1, then 2, 2, 2, then 3, 3, 3, then 4, 4, 4, and 5, 5, 5, you'll actually lose 4 points. Okay. If you do the cross, so 1, 1, 1, so it generalized cross, it's more a zigzag. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, and then normal filling, you'll filling, gapping, I don't know. You'll have 68 points. But if you do this, you'll have 1 extra point. And this is the pattern we'll study later on. So 1 and then 1, 1 here, then you fill the gaps, and then normal tiling. You'll have 69 points. And if you think about it, you never can allow for a lateral gap. So even if you generalize to 3 lines, the interest is just 2 columns. And so if we see here, you've got 3 lines, 2 columns, and you can check the different ways of filling it. And this is what I found. So the normal way is 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, you'll have 17 points. The zigzag also works, so 1, 1, 1, and then fill in the gaps, 17, 2, okay? But this is better. You have 1 here, 1, 1, and 2, 2, 2, and you get 1 extra point. And surprisingly, the kind of symmetrical way of doing it, so 1, 1, and then 1 here, is actually terrible. It's only 15 points. So I try to think about this and kind of have a understanding, a generalization of this, find a rule that explains what's going on. And I'm not sure if this is optimal, but the rule I came up with is, okay, lateral gaps are trivially seen. We can understand very simply what they mean, but vertical gaps actually have a different dynamic to them, because you have a different order of filling the gaps. You will first fill the top gaps and then fill the bottom gaps. So a rule can be never more than 1 gap on top of you, because you'll be able to fill that gap before you lose points on the bottom. So if we come back to this, okay, when you've got a setup like this, okay, what I'm saying is this will score more points in the next round if you're able to fill the gap. So the colors don't match, but this in that order will net you 18 points, whereas this in this order will net you 17 points. Okay, so to come back to the strategic implications of this, I still believe that this is a better position because you've got more flexibility, right? You've got more optimal place. But this one is also solid. You could score 1 extra point. The burden you carry when you do this is that you have to fill this gap before you place here. So I would argue this is okay. If you're confident, you'll be able to do this. But this is just trying to maximize the points. The real strategic advantage I think we can exploit here is that players, even in high level, I believe this is far superior to everything else, which is not true, at least not always. And I've seen a lot of players just handshake a good position versus a good position. So one player will have this one and the other player will have this one, and yeah, both are fine. But I would argue that sometimes you can trade a position like this for you for a position like this for the opponent, let's say. And this is great because that position is terrible and this position is very good. So I believe this is the main strategic advantage you would have for thinking like this. Let me know what you think of this. It's still pretty niche, but I'm not sure if it was a known thing. So yeah,